Good morning and welcome to our online service. We welcome you to ponder with us in a time shared by members, friends, and visitors as a congregation of people in the spirit of First Parish of Sudbury, Unitarian Universalist. We gather this morning to find meaning, to participate in community, and maybe to find some small way to help make our communities and our lives a little bit better. This morning we gather in love with open hearts and minds, endeavoring to create a time and space where all are welcome to bring their whole self, respective beliefs, identities, gladness, and sorrows. I ask you to leave nothing about yourself behind. We love and welcome you just as you are. Friends, there's a button available below this window. If you click on it, you will receive this morning's order of service. Please open it to follow along. Our opening reading is really a quote from Henry Nelson Wyman. A little bit about him. Wyman was an American philosopher and theologian, born in 1884 and died in 1975. He became the most famous proponent of theocentric naturalism, an empirical method in the American theology, and catalyzed the emergence of religious naturalism in the latter part of the 20th century. His grandson, Carl Wyman, is a Nobel laureate in physics, and his son-in-law, who you might know, Houston Smith, was a prominent scholar in religious studies. Here is what he said. Inevitably in our lives, we commit ourselves to something, whether worthy or not. The direction and intensity of our loyalties give shape and meaning to our lives. Loyalties, commitments, covenants, the promises we make to one another. These are the things that tell us to what we belong. By doing so, they tell us who we are. Let us join in our lighting of the chalice this morning. It's located in your order of worship, so say it along. As we kindle this flame, may it spark in each of us connection and commitment to this living tradition and to each other. Please join in singing our opening hymn this morning. It's 1028, The Fire of Commitment. The words are in your order of worship.
From the light of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living brings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when
reading this morning is by Casper Takuli. Our dominant culture values shape our conception of community, which means that we seek, even in community, self-actualization, personal freedom, and individual success exhibited through consumption. While we want community, it is often community on our terms with easy entrances and exits, lots of choice and support, and minimal responsibilities, writes Kristen D. Pohl in her book Living into Community. It would be so much easier if we could be connected without being encumbered. Despite the fact that many of us claim to be dissatisfied with individualism, we cherish our capacity to make individual choices and to seek opportunities for personal growth. Communities in which we grow and flourish last over time and are built by people who are faithful to one another and committed to a shared purpose. Community life certainly has moments of incredible beauty and intense personal connection, but much of it's daily and ordinary. Our lives are knit together not so much by intense feeling as by shared history, tasks, commitments, stories, and sacrifices. Enjoy our morning's musical interlude.
There are two men beneath our eyes, too many troublesome days, too many wearisome miles. There has to be a song. There has to be a song to make the burdens bearable. There has to be a song to make our hopes believable, to transform our triumphs into praise. There has to be a song. Somewhere down deep in a forgotten corner of each man's heart, to release the chains of past release, there has to be a song. Like a cool, clear rain of water, like a gentle morn of sunshine, like a tender love of a child, there has to be a song. Has to be a song to make our burdens bearable. There has to be a song to make our hopes believable, to transform our triumphs into praise. There has to be a song. There has to be
Can you remember the first commitment that you ever made? I'm not talking about the first time you submitted. There is a difference. I'm talking about the first time that you made a commitment without feeling forced. Here's the not so subtle difference. To submit is to yield, to give way to another. On the other hand, to commit is to give in trust, to put into charge or keeping, to consign. In thinking about this concept of my first commitment, I wondered about my first day of kindergarten. In retrospect, it was clearly not a commitment that I made to attend kindergarten. As a parent, you probably remember the first day of kindergarten for your children. Well, at least your first child. Sometimes it's not an easy experience because for the child, it's all about submitting, usually in tears, to the will of one's parents. Encouraging words were probably spoken like, "It's okay, you'll be fine, look at all the other kids and toys," as you slowly backed out of the room. I've heard that it can be equally as difficult for the parents as well. It is a big transition for everyone involved. As a parent, you were making a commitment to socialize your children by sending them to school. It's an important milestone. Another important commitment and milestone was your decision to come to First Parish in the first place. Some of you have said to introduce your children to a foundation of religious thought, the importance of meaning making, and compassionate understanding and action. I have heard from so many of you it was a concern for your children that helped you to find your way here. And it was your decision again after your children bridged to adulthood to stay or to later return. We are grateful for your commitment to being here each and every day. When we think about making commitments to some cause, practice, or to others, it is all about what compels you. Maybe as a youngster, it may have been a club or some sort of the scouts or sports or playtime routine, but you made your own commitment to do that and do it with your friends. You were compelled, made the commitment to get involved, stick it out. Your word was your bond. Following through is a feel-good accomplishment. Those early days in our lives say a lot about who we have become as adults. We garner a lot of who we are and our level of commitment from our families of origin. If our parents were committed, we will most likely be as committed as they were. And to a large extent, so will our children. Our behavior and thoughts about commitment are generational. And if you reflect on your life, you will see the little ways that this is true. We may see it in the causes that we are committed to. For me, it has always been the needs of the planet, how I can change my behavior in order to leave a smaller footprint on our shared home. My father was a big conservationist, and I have followed in his footsteps. On the other hand, my mother was a huge proponent for the protection of one's soul and education. You can see where she led me. What are you compelled by? How are you willing to commit and why? Be mindful and know your reasons. Taking time to unpack why, how, and what we commit to is an important practice. During this time of our annual pledge canvas, I invite us to think about who we are, how we are connected, and what is our commitment to one another here at First Parish of Sudbury. Are we mildly connected, moderately connected, or are we very invested, connected, and committed, all in? There are some subconscious levels of commitment that we hold, all based on how one engages, what you receive, what you learn, and are learning about the importance of a community such as ours. It is important to take the time to realize what you feel about the meeting house and the people here that you are committed to. Also, at times, and based on circumstances, the level of one's commitment and connection can change. And that's okay. We each need different things at different times. With this said, the care of this community requires a significant level of participation, especially during times such as these. We have been through so much over the last year. It was 1 year ago from today that we made the decision to meet over Zoom in order to keep each other safe and healthy. During this time of pandemic, what I have learned is who is truly connected and committed and what it takes to go there. We see it every single week, don't we? We can feel the connection during milestones, the commitment in announcements, and the care in our conversations. What I see and feel hinges on the old adage, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And you, my friends, do and have what it takes to survive these difficult times and then to ultimately thrive together. Hear me when I say this. In this I have no doubt. What we have created together is a core that we need in order to make it through anything. What we need is what we have. a tight-knit group that remains steadfast, ideas firing off, hearts open and committed. I know at times we worry, and we may feel uncertain, but I invite us to rejoice in what we have, one another, our glorious meeting house, and our guiding principles. There's nothing better. We have and do depend on one another. Now let's go just a little deeper. I invite us to reach for those keys of commitment, connection, and what Unitarian Universalism has to offer. Reverend Gretchen Haley in Reflection shared that though we may have discarded many aspects of our puritanical inheritance, today, at this place and time, we remain committed to this most brilliant and radical insight: to be a people, to follow our calling as a people, to transform ourselves and therefore transform the world. That is what it means to be Unitarian Universalist. To make a commitment, to make a sound and binding promise to one another that we will hang in there with each other, that we will act in service of a larger vision, a big, mighty vision, in service of the spirit of love and life, that we will act out of our genuine reasoning, our personal experience of mutual and transformative love, to live knowing and honoring this commitment day after day. That is what it looks like to be Unitarian Universalists. And nothing less than a big, mighty vision that will keep us committed and engaged. Because it is when we lose our vision that we lose our faith and our commitment. The people in Metro West and beyond need our vision, our faith, and our commitment to carry on, bending that arc of history ever towards justice. Think about our banners, articles, signs, pictures in the paper, wayside pulpit, our gatherings on the common. We share our important message, our values every day, far beyond our sanctuary or our presence online. As Unitarian Universalists, we consider ourselves somewhat like-minded. With that said, we are also very different. And I want to highlight the ideal of commitment built on a foundation of two ways of being. We know these ways, and we recognize them when we see them, but they seem at times elusive because we are not mindful of our modus operandi. And so this morning, let's bring them into the light of day. The first way of being is all about being independent, as our morning's reading spoke. And the second way is being about interdependent. Neither is better than the other, but they both need to be present in order for us to evolve, work, and communicate with one another successfully. In a Stanford publication from Clayman Institute, Hazel Rose Marcus, a psychology professor at Stanford, was quoted about a typology of independent and interdependent selves. She explained that the independent self values being unique, making a contribution, being heard, and influencing others. In contrast, the interdependent self emphasizes relationships, similarities to others, adjusting to others, and fitting in with one's social surroundings. Think about these independent folks. Are you one? That want to be seen, heard, understood, push forth their agenda as an individual. They are important contributors to our society. They excel in their lives. They endeavor to feed their competitive self. They encourage and push themselves to step up, to speak out with regard to injustice when all others remain silent. They are the leaders. The interdependent folks want what's best for relationships, connection, and fitting in. They look to build on consensus and listen carefully to all voices. They tend to look for inspiration from the collective. My question to us this morning is, where do we operate from? How often do we stop and think which part of us is speaking? Our independent or interdependent self? It would be great if we could stop for a second to think about who is speaking right now. Sometimes it's hard to even decipher where our position is coming from. The goal, the best mix, would be if we were to self-actualize just enough to be both independent and interdependent thinkers, and to know at any given moment which was being more dominant and why. I believe that this is partially the goal of our seventh UU principle, to respect the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. When we imagine and work towards a realization of our commitment and the role that we want to play, what does it look like? Reverend Victoria Safford, a friend and colleague, once offered, "The central question for us to consider is not what do we believe, but more what do we believe in? To what larger love, to what people, principles, values, and dreams shall we be committed? To whom, to what are we accountable?" In a tradition so deeply steeped in individualism, it becomes a spiritual practice for each of us to ask these questions, not once and for all, but again and again. The life of the Spirit is solitary, but our answers to these questions call us to speak, call us to live in the plural, interdependently. It is so true that we need to consider our place and effect on the order of things over and over again. I turn back towards Professor Marcus's work as she explains that research has shown, for example, that women are encouraged to be communal, caring, and concerned for others, which are all interdependent characteristics. As a result, women are likely to develop well-elaborated an interdependent self. On the other hand, men learn from a young age to be dominant and outspoken and are likely to have a well-elaborated independent self that they use as a default self. I'm not sure you remember this, but remember many years ago there was a book, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus? This might just be an explanation of why. Boys and girls learn how to behave by observing their family members, teachers, peers, and the media. Gender socialization does not end with childhood. Adults are also constantly reminded in all their daily interactions, both formal and informal, of socially acceptable gendered behavior. This, of course, mediated by one's race, socioeconomic status, our many intersecting cultural cycles, cycles of ideas, institutions, interactions, shape our individual thoughts, feelings, and actions. So no one rule fits all. Being mindful of where we are coming from at any given moment, independent, interdependent, are the keys to the kingdom. A combination of both ways of being are called meeting in the middle. And it is what it takes to be able to successfully communicate and work together. If our hope is to interdependently work and thrive together while knowing and speaking from our independent mind in truth, respect, and love, meeting in the middle and learning to engage both types of thinking and communicating is the way to success. Independent and/or interdependent. If we each feel seen, heard, and connected to, what could possibly hold us back? Since the day you all called me as your minister, there has been one rallying cry that I've shared with you over and over and over again. We are all in this together. I have said this over and over as a goal that you, as the congregation, set. As a congregation, we sang the words of this song at my installation, and we were filled with joy. Deborah Morris Bennett helped me to find the lyrics this week and explained that in 1998, Peg Espinola's son did an arrangement of this piece that was used in one of Laurie Parkhill's RE plays. It is based on a piece by Carole King, but he changed the words as a bit to the following. We are all in this together, and maybe we'll see that one day when we conquer our fears together, when we finally find our way. Now we all need forgiving for all the damage done, for the things we do not thinking, for the hurt we've caused someone. And we will keep on living caught somewhere there between the reason and the meaning, the vision and the dream. We are all in this together. We know that seems easy to say, but we don't use the word forever. It's enough just to say someday. We are all in this together, and maybe we'll see that one day when we conquer our fears together, when we finally find a way. There is our commitment right there. And it's beyond just saying or singing it. It is in the doing, interdependently of it, that we are working towards someday. Writer and university professor David Foster Wallace challenged humanity to look even deeper with regard to our chosen beliefs and the commitment of what to worship. He explained, in the day-to-day trenches of adult life, there's actually no such thing as atheism. There is no such thing as not worshiping. Everybody worships. The only choice we get is what to worship. and an outstanding reason for choosing some sort of God or spiritual type thing to worship, be it JC or Allah, be it Yahweh or the Wiccan mother goddess or the Four Noble Truths, or some infrangible set of ethical principles, is that pretty much anything else you will worship will eat you alive. If you worship money and things, if that's where you tap real meaning in life, then you will never have enough, never feel you have enough. It's the truth. Worship your body and beauty and sexual allure, and you will always feel ugly. And when time and age start showing, you will die a million deaths before they finally grieve you. Worship power, you will end up feeling weak and afraid, and you will need ever more power over others to numb you from your own fear. Worship your intellect, being seen as smart, you will end up feeling stupid, a fraud, always on the verge of being found out. But the insidious thing about these forms of worship is not that they're evil or sinful, it's that they're unconscious. They are our default settings. They're the kind of worship you just gradually slip into day after day, getting more and more selective about what you see and how you measure value without ever being fully aware that that's what you're actually doing. And the so-called real world will not discourage you. Maybe we choose to worship, or better yet, we choose to embrace the sanctity of interdependence. That's what I would ask us to think about. What is more important than our connections to others? Could we be mindful of, focus our attention on, and our energy towards one another? We are here together today, thinking about commitment, interdependent, independent, and how to meet mindfully somewhere in the middle. I ask us on this Canvas Sunday to think about how strong your connection and commitment is to the First Parish of Sudbury community, comprised in its entirety of the essence of who we are and the importance of the historic buildings and grounds, our calling to do the work of justice in the larger world. I ask you to think about the importance of independence, but not at the cost of interdependence. Let us build bridges with and to one another. Think about what larger love, what big, very, very big ideas, what people, principles, values, and dreams we are committed to. To whom, to what are we accountable? We have a lot to think about, a lot to understand, embrace, accept, and to support. First Parish gives you that opportunity to pause for a moment in your life, to think about things, to engage, to then have conversations with others. Where does your commitment reside? Will you rise to meet the tide? Over the last year, we have had to step back from our beloved meeting house in order to keep us all safe, but we never stopped meeting, caring, and being committed to one another. We continued to work to lean into our call to commitment, dreams, and goals. Leadership and the many strategic teams have unveiled their ideas to streamline and improve this organization, our justice-seeking spiritual home. They have shown their commitment to us over and over again, and they do so through interdependent thinking. My friends, I invite us to join them, thinking about the all of us and the welfare of the First Parish of Sudbury. Let us think and work for justice and the hope for a better future, not just for you and I, but for the all. Let us build upon the commitment of our forebears, which enables us to be part of such a historic, transformative institution. And let us add to its history in all of the ways that we have chosen to commit in our lives that has brought us, you and I, here today. As we look out towards the horizon of our collective destiny, we see coming back together, and we are hopeful. Let us commit to a very big and very bright future. We've had a year of stepping back, although leaning in and working hard. Let us share in the privilege of being all in this together, to be part of the process, ever moving forward, our way built on the commitment that we make, the love and the compassion that we share. I invite us to enter into a time of silent reflection, meditation, and prayer. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. Thank you for your time and treasure to support the good work of First Parish. We accept your offering this morning via mail, dropping off a check at First Parish, texting your offering, or designating your offering online. You can find directions on how to participate in our online giving in the order of worship. Let us enjoy our music for offering.
You got to move, you got to move, you got to move time, got to move. What's when the Lord is good, you got to move, you got to move, you got to move, you got to move, you got to move time, you got to move. It's when the Lord is good. You got it. Don't move now. You got it. You got it. You got to move. You got it. You got it. You got it.
Thank you so much for your continued support. Let us join in saying our unison extinguishing of the chalice located in your order of worship. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Good and loving people, our time in worship has come to an end. So I bid you go in peace, speak your truth in love, and give thanks each and every day. No matter how weak or frightened we may feel, we each have gifts that can make a difference in the world. This week, may you do at least one thing to support the broken, to welcome the stranger, to celebrate what is worthy, to do the work of justice, and to love. Be strong, be connected each day, act so you and all of us may be a little more whole together. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen.
Okay, this is a little bit different version than you've heard, and I believe that every one of us has our light to shine from the very youngest to the very oldest, and so please join with me. I'm going to sing it through once, and then the band and everybody's going to come in. And don't get too rooted in your pieces of paper. I told the choir to put them away a while ago, so this little love